Welcome everybody. This is Mary's second video with her horse, Bibi, and we're going to do some cool updates here and see what's been going on with her. She's at a point now on her trimming where she had a bunch of questions, and so it's once again easier to do a video than to try to type it all out. So let's see how she's doing. Bibi just went through a weird thing. She was doing really good. Then at the beginning of the month, she suddenly wouldn't even barely walk. And Mary had to go to town for 8 days right when this happened. So a friend took really good care of her and she got better. Like, she just got better. And it was only lasted a couple of days. And then she was fine again. So she's doing a lot better now. She's walking. They're taking her for hand walks. Up to 2 miles she went at one hand walking walk the other day, and she's doing way better now. And what we think happened was, we think that the back of the foot needed to probably be opened up some more trimming done in between the heel bulbs and the periopal rope area. And Mary didn't have time to be figuring out what was going on and thinking around with it because she was leaving town, and we think that that's what was going on. So let's just see where everything's looking now. Okay, I'm going to pick back up where we were back in May. Here's the right front. The before is on the left, the after is on the right, and you can see it's easier to see maybe if you make your screen smaller. I made it full screen, but if you want to make your screen smaller, you can see how the second one's heel is sitting down on the ground nicely, and she's getting rid of the excess area here in the pillars that was on the front left. You can see it was a little long under there, and that was stopping things from moving back. And you can see how the lines are already looking better in the second picture, where the heel is sitting down more squarely on the ground, and the pressure point on the pillar is gone. That little bulge is gone because she trimmed that off, took care of it. We can see it's a little bit left of it here where my mouse is moving, but it is gotten a lot better. And she's really working on straightening out those toes and opening up the back at the same time, because you cannot straighten up toes by trimming back the toes and doing nothing else to the foot. You will bind a foot like this up in nothing flat. So this is where she was. I'm gonna pause my recording for a second here. Here's the other front foot, and you can see how on the left we're always looking for something we can do to relieve the leverage points on the foot so that the heels can go back and stand up on a foot like this, because everything had slipped forward over time and her toe had curled up from the pressure. So we were really being nitpicky here about the quarters. On this left picture here, you can see where there's a tiny bit there that probably looked like it could be trimmed off. So I had her measure and map, and she did. She touched it up right underneath here, and you can see how it's just going to help the heel be able to come back and stand up, because if it's too long right in the quarters or the pillars, these can be key spots that can stop the lamini from wanting to straighten up. It'll just freeze it right here because it hits the ground, and then it really can't do anything else. It gets blocked by the ground. So you've got to relieve some of that excess length and allow everything to be able to come back a little bit and move up a little bit. And so if it's not as long, it can actually flex. The foot can flex and it can expand backward. So that's what she was doing back here at the end of May. A lot of people are really stuck right now on how to trim the area in between the bulbs and the back of the frog. And so this is a good illustration of a before and after that we worked on together. I have found personally that you'll see there's this little triangle flap right here that at the very back of the frog that I call the bat wings or the butterfly wings flap. And I have found trimming that out really makes a difference on getting these little bound up heels here to open up, because that's our goal. You can see her heels are very swooped up in the back, and that's a big indicator that they are contracted underneath the frog. And so we want to give the back of the foot the ability to expand and come outward and settle down. So this can settle down and not be so swooped up, and it can be more straight across and come back more and grow more heel capsule. So the heel capsule itself will actually get longer and bigger in the back. So we had her trim out this area right in here, and I found the best way to do that is to freshly sharpen my knife and slice down this side, and then just flip my blade up and just slice back up this side. And I've gotten now where I can do it pretty quick. The horses, if you would first start doing it with them, they will freak out because they will not understand the feeling, because they're not used to having somebody take a knife and slice that little spot. And so when you start to slice with the knife, they'll be like, "What's that?" And they like pull their foot away. So just so you know, after a little while, they get used to it and they don't mind it at all anymore if your horse is sensitive to it, like the ones I've been trimming have been. And see how she took that out right in here. She trimmed that up a little bit, and she cut a little groove right here in front of the back of the frog, like Linda taught us, to make a little mechanical central sulcus so that all this can spread apart. Because otherwise, this is like Fort Knox. Look at this. This is all like Fort Knox right here. It's just filled in, and that's it. That ain't going nowhere unless you get that out of there. And we're not big on trimming anything right here right now on the sides or anything right here, because her foot needs to be stable, and we just need this. We want the back part to start opening up and expanding, but it is important to get rid of this frog area here that pushes these heel buttresses forward. So she's trimming that area out, but we're not doing anything with this periopal right here along the buttresses. This is for Bibi on May 30th, and I didn't know about this till after it was all done and she was feeling better, because Murray had to get out of town quickly. And so we didn't do any emergency attending to this. We just waited it out because she didn't have time to tell me about it, and she got better on her own. But poor girl, she did not look good that day, did she? But now she's doing great again. So I just want to show you guys that, because once in a while something freaky might happen, and it might be something really small that makes a humongous difference for your horse. It's this pain level. So sometimes, you know, you might not be doing anything barely at all wrong, and you can have your horse can be really sore for a few days, and then you can figure it out, and we can help them with, you know, if we knew what was going on, we could have probably given her immediate pain relief with what we needed to do. But at this instance, we weren't able to connect. But I'm just letting you guys know it could be something really small. And what I have found most of the time lately, it has been that there's pressure in the back of the heels that's causing the horse a lot of pain. And relieving that pressure in the back of the heels, like we just talked about in the last photos, has been a humongous thing. I have helped several horses that were lame be fine the next day by trimming that part out. And here's a picture she took on May 30th, the day when she was super lame, before she had to go to town. And, you know, like I said, she'd been fine up to here, actually, you know, getting way better. And so there's nothing here that was completely jumping out to her that day that she could figure out that would be causing her pain. I would say possibly taking more out of her bars would help, because those bars might have been hurting. And then if we did a super close-up of the heels, we could maybe see if there's more we could take out right there to help expand it better. See if I can make these super big. If I open image in a new tab. Hold on. So I would have told her at the time to see if there's anything else she could do right here to relieve any pressure. If she could slice a little bit more right here to help these be unbound. And I would have addressed the bars and seen if that would make a difference for her to get the length of these bars off right here, because sometimes this can really cause them a lot of pain. And so we would have tried both those things. And other than that, I would have remapped everything and seen where everything was. We would have just tried to see what we could do. But luckily, she just got through it. So let's kind of get updated to now. Here she is here going for a walk after they got back from out of town. Look how good those toes look. Oh my God. They're looking so much better. Oh, she's so pretty. She's got good size hooves for being a smaller horse. She's 14.4 hands. And oh my gosh, she's just got the most beautiful coat ever. She is so gorgeous. I just had a little vision of my head pop in of her trotting around with beautiful suspension, and we are going to get all that back. I cannot wait to see her get that far. Look how great she's walking on hard ground. This is phenomenal. So you guys, sometimes we just got to get through something mystery and keep going. Here she is in her cute little cloud boots, and she even feels good enough to trot in them. Look at her. That's way better than what she looked like in the other picture, right? So we are just continuing on. That's phenomenal. She's doing a cute little trot there, and she's just going to keep continuing to get better and better. But Mary had some current concerns. We didn't want to cause anything to rotate in the front feet, and she was asking me some specific questions about all that. So let's get into that right now and see where we're at. Here's some before and after pictures from a trim she did just a few days ago. She wasn't planning on trimming that day, so she didn't do a full mapping. But look at how much better that toe is doing. It is so much less skied out. It's coming down straight. It's looking so much better. Now we just got to get the back to get standing up and expanding, because about like this much capsule here needs to grow in. So the back will be probably like, you know, a good ½ inch at least longer in the back here at the bottom. Well, that's probably more than a ½ inch, right? That's probably like an inch. She's going to expand out and grow more back there. I just want to show you how much better that is looking. You go back to the other video and look at the first pictures. You're going to be going, wow. Wow, is that gotten better? Here's a quick view of the other foot too. And you can see how she's getting way more confident with how much to take off in the pillars and the toes. And that's what it's all about. She was leaving the toes and pillars too long, and the back wasn't able to expand either. So the foot was just becoming more and more and more skied out in the front. So you can see the leverage point right here in this line, right here. All the horses that I know that have pillars and toes that are too long will have a stress line like this, where the foot's trying to come down straight, but if you leave too much toe, it will bend that toe forward and up. And then you get this line here, a stress point. That's where all the stress is, inside the foot. Every time that hoof walks, it's bending right there. And so we are working on slowly but surely reforming the shape of this hoof as it grows out, so it can continue to just go straight. So pretty soon it'll just go down like this to the ground where my cursor's going, instead of going out like it does now. I could do a markup on that, but I can't get to that many right now. But you guys can see when I take my mouse and you go straight, you just follow that top line down, you'll see how much different that will be, right? That's huge when that's going to be all off. And then, of course, at the same time, this will be back more. So we're going to reposition. We are already repositioning that whole capsule back under where it goes. Okay, so let's get into her current questions. So she's getting ready for a trim now and a full trim. And she had some questions about what she should be trimming off in between the bulbs. So she circled 3 places, and she was wondering if she was supposed to trim periopal off here, here, and here. And the answer is no. She is only supposed to take off this area that she has circled in the center. And just trim that little V out right there and open that cartilage up right there. So do a little slice and dice right there and make sure the bat wings are gone right around here. Looks like she's doing a good job of keeping those trimmed up right now. And then we discussed the bars, because she's got a lot of bar left right here. And it's attaching to the buttress right here in a way that's holding everything at bay right there. Too much bar. And she really needs to clean out that seat of the corner, needs to file these flat, because what's happening is that they're going to want to curl around and in, because the heels are sucked in. So they're curling around and in. We want these to straighten out and come back. So when we're opening up this, that's going to make these buttresses straighten out. They're going to be able to uncurl right there. So she said she was nervous about the bar because she's trimmed before when she took out more bar, and she came back the next day and it looked like the coffin bone had rotated. So we discussed that, and I said, well, that was a while back before you were working with me and doing tact, the 100% tact method way. And at the past, you were not trimming the whole foot. You were leaving some parts out, like you weren't taking off enough heel at that time that you took off all the bar. And so the heel took over the space where the bars were and invaded it and caused the middle of that foot to arch up and the coffin bone to rotate. Does that make sense? We can go through that again. If the heel is left too long and you take out a ton of bar and the heel already wants to curl forward and come over, what's it going to do? It's going to just descend upon the sole, and it's going to arch in and contract over and run forward. But when, like, trimmers call it a run forward heel. So she'll get real run forward heels. When this curls over and falls over on top of the sole even more than it is now, what's going to happen right here? You're going to get an arch. You're going to get a bend. You're going to get bound up right here. It's going to fold. The foot's going to fold right here, because this is going to fold over, which is going to pull this up, which is going to cause a fold right here, which is going to put pressure on the coffin bone, which is going to cause it to rotate. So that's what I was downloading intuitively about what was going on with her foot at that time, because I kind of meditated on it for a minute. I was trying to download the information intuitively on what happened. And she said that made perfect sense because she was leaving the heels too long back then. So we're going to move on and not worry about that bar thing anymore, because we're now doing a full trim to the whole foot. And that's so important with tact. You have to do the whole foot. You cannot just do one area and skip another area, because as I said in other videos, it's like that game that you can get in those little arcade machines with the 9 numbers, and they each have a square, and then there's one empty square, and you can slide all those numbers around till you get them in order from 1 to 9. It's like that. Everything in that foot has to be able to be movable and pliable so that it can move to its proper anatomically correct position. If something's locked up, it's not going to move. So you can see here, we were discussing the buttress. She was asking if that was new growth. I absolutely think that's new growth. I think that's awesomely, swimmingly positive movement in the right direction happening here. You can see how the heel looks like it tilts up a little bit. And so we're going to really get hard on these measurements from the hairline up to the tip of that buttress and make sure this is nice and flat right here. And when they start to kind of tilt up like this, I always flatten them off because that gets rid of this arch happening here. And then they stop wanting to move forward because they're going to arch them. They're going to fold over. As she walks on them, they're going to start folding over and folding over and folding over. And I call that hooded heels, where they don't get, if they don't get trimmed out well enough and cleaned out well enough in the trims, they'll just start adhering over the bars, adhering over the sole, and they'll just, like when you stick your foot out the back of your shoe and you walk on your shoes and you flatten out the back of your heel of your shoe, that's what happens with the horse's heel as well. So she's going to get on that and file that flat. And then see, here's a little periopal rope right here that needs to be trimmed out. This grows back super fast in between trims. And if you have a little piece like this sticking out and your foot is not anatomically correct yet, and you are still working on getting your heels to decontract, you're going to want to trim that out. Take that little piece out right there, slice it out so you can slice it on one side down with your blade, and you can flip it up and slice it kind of going up on the other side. That will get rid of that. And she's done really good with her bat wings. I don't see her bat wings there. Maybe just a tiny flap right here, but she's basically flattened them down to the sole. So she did a good job there. Here's some pictures from 2 years ago till now that Mary compiled for us to look at. Thank you so much for doing that work. And she's talking about how much everything has changed. She has some from other years too we can glance at if we have time. But I really wanted to do this 2-year compilation set here where you can really see how the foot has changed. The back is already starting to get longer and getting a nice platform to step on there. And the left one, she was trimming the frog right there. So things were good, but like over time, she just left the toes and the pillars too long, and that caused everything to really slide out of shape. And when you have stress on the front of the foot, or when you're leaving your quarters and heels too long, you'll start to get separation right here. I have a horse that cannot have these taken down too short because he has dropped fetlocks that we're working on rehabbing. And he had major separation going on right here when I was trimming him the last time because I didn't get there as quickly as he separated, which was only a month. But it was a huge, huge thing for him. So that can happen really quickly where all this can come apart. But where it comes apart, that's usually because it's been too long there. And that's why it comes apart right there, because there's been stress on the foot. And we know that Mary's foot is working on coming back and straightening up as well. So that makes sense. And she's done a good job of getting these bars cleaned out. And she's got to take this little piece out right in here that sticks out like that. I'm just so obsessed with that area of the foot right now. It's like I just can't stand any little extra flap of cartilage right there. I'm getting as bad as Linda and her grinder right now with them wanting to have the whole sole just perfect. Like she gets it. And so other than that, I mean, looks like she was on a pretty good start here, but let's look at this buttress area, okay? So right here, and she had a bound up foot, okay? With a bound up foot, you're going to get a really long area here for buttress. It's going to be like the bar attaches up high, which it does here. And then it gets like this fake heel that's like this big long something or other that the horse is walking on. And so when they have bound up heels, you got to go in here and you got to clean it all out. Like all this area here has to be taken out like that much. And so it makes it look more like this one where the heels are detached more from the side so that this can come back more. If this is attached up here with the bars, like it is more here, then this cannot move. It's just going to be stuck there. And the foot's going to be stuck, bound and curled forward and arching in the center, right? With a bound up heel. When I mean bound up in this instance, I mean like the the long way, bound up the long way. So the middle of the foot is more archy, arched, and the toes and the heels are, oh, the heels for sure on this one are slanted too far forward, and there's capsule missing in the back of the foot that should be grown in. And so she's doing a much better job here with her seat of the corns. I would even clean this one out a little bit more right here after looking at my pics close up. I'd probably go back with my knife and take out a little bit more right here, because you don't want this little fat area here to grow up, because it just migrates these forward. And you want these bars to come down and these buttresses to open up, which means they're going to come down. When they uncurl, what are they going to do? They're going to come down. So that's going to locate it down around here versus up in here. So that's what we're working toward here. And then, of course, taking this out right here that's sticking out, this little nubbins here. I don't know what I should call that. I'm going to get a name for that, but it looks just like this little acorn, acorn-shaped piece of cartilage that grows right in the center over top of the heel bulbs. If I look at from the other point of view live in person, I would probably say that you can take that out, but I'd have to make triple shear there on a different view for that there. She found the true apex of the frog. She trimmed that back. It's really, really important with a foot like this. You've got to get that apex trimmed out every time. Look how nicely she's trimming out her soles. I mean, she's just really keeping up on this. This foot's just got to have time to grow and expand, but she's really got to be diligent about the buttress area, the seat of the corn area, and in between the heel bulbs here and the whole frog area, the apex of the frog and the bars, all has to be really diligently kept up on, which she is doing a really good job of doing. Believe it or not, this is the same foot. This is before she knew anything about tact, after another trimmer was doing her horse's feet. And this was, back in 2019 and 2020. Wow. This is amazing. This is 2020. Let me see. Where's the 2019 one? Hold on. Front, left, front and left, front, side by side. Front and left, front, side by side. What's this one? 2019. Look how little that foot is. Look how little that foot is. Oh my God. It's so bound up. It's so tiny. Can you see that? Teeny tiny little foot. When you have a huge wide frog like that, and then the foot, the buttresses are connecting. Let me see, am I recording? Yep, okay. And the buttresses are connecting up way out here on the sides, and it's basically a little round foot. You can see if you look at the capsule, it's probably just teeny tiny compared to what it should be. And, lots of filled in pebbling here from having this be too long. And just so much can be done, right? And the bars really need work. Oh boy, they're just, cemented over the sole right here in a huge bar flap. And see how it migrates up? When you don't trim that out, it just starts going up and up and up and up and making a big flap over the sole, and it pulls the buttresses up with it. So they can't expand backward because they're glued down to the sole. And of course, no expansion happening here between the bulbs. So that was fun to look at. Here's 2020, which actually looks worse than 2019. Somebody was not trimming those pillars at all, which you can see. This happens a lot on horses where the pillars are left too long. The toe will wear off from being walked on. You'll see the front of the toe is not, not as long. And then you got these squared off corners. So the foot almost looks square. That's because this was left long, but that wore off from being walked on. And look how long, and look at the separation happening here. This major. Oh my God, such pain she had to have been in. And those prolific bars, pulling those buttresses, see that? It's all this needs to be cleaned out. That all needs to be cleaned out. It migrated down further. See the big platform I told you about? It's just kind of a weird square thing. That happens because the bars are pulling everything so out of place and this isn't getting trimmed out right. And of course, nothing happening between here. There's the nubbins. You can see that like acorn nubbins that sticks out right there. That's got to be trimmed out so the bulbs can open up. Oh my gosh, just wow. She's just really doing some good work now compared to where this foot was back then. And here she is on a walk from a couple of days ago. Look how good she's walking now. She looks great. She looks great. Look how comfortable she looks. She's just coming along, Mary. Everything's just going to start really snowballing for you with her. You're doing such a good job. Here's another little bit longer video so you can really see how well she's walking. Much improved, Mary. Well, hopefully that answers your questions on what to do with your next trim, Mary, and we'll keep checking in. Can't wait to see the progress with those toes. Just for kicks, let's go back and see what they looked like when we started working. Okay, let's compare. The foot on the left is when she started working, when we started working together. And you can see there was also